Solid. Oh yeah, perfect. Love mid-sentence. Hi everyone. Welcome to Trying to Keep Up, where Allison and I do our best.
Doing our
No
best.
special guests today. It is just the OGs, um, and which means we're going to be struggling a little bit more because we've got no crutch to lean on.
I feel like that is a good, yeah, we should say, do you want to come be a guest on TTKU so you can help us try
Just
to
the
make it look a little more legit or something?
yeah, the third post in this bar stool.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, how was your week?
It's been good. We've been busy as always. One of our clients closed a round of funding for $110 million. So that's always cool to see when they do big things. And I don't know, they're helping people, and this will help them help more people. So I like to see it.
Mhm. And I always say, go make that money so you can pay me, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, we are doing a lot for them. So I'm happy that that will be able to continue. So
That's good. That's
yeah.
great.
How about you?
Um, I'm trying to think. I feel like yesterday was a very weird day because I got through my to-do list and I couldn't believe it. It was like one of those things where I was just like,
What
it
does
was
that
like
feel like?
honestly, I can count on four fingers how many times I've felt that way in the past 15 years. Um, yep. So, well, the benefit was yesterday, after my kids got out of school, because they're already back in school, I picked them up and met my sister who's in town at the beach, and we went and swam with the leopard sharks here in San Diego. There's like this weird phenomenon every year. Like they didn't know why they did it for a long time, but all of these like pregnant leopard sharks come into the shallows in like La Jolla shores, and you can just go float and just they just swim underneath you. They're the ones that don't, their mouth is like on the bottom of their face, so they can't bite, they don't bite you. You don't harass
Okay.
them, but you just kind
Yeah,
of
so I was gonna
swim.
say both leopards and sharks
Sharks.
seem dangerous to humans.
Yeah,
Leopard
no,
sharks,
not these
totally
ones.
safe. Good to know.
Yeah, yeah. They're just and they're so beautiful. I like cruised with one for a little while. She was just like checking me out, and I was just kind of floating above her. So it was just a kind of a magical day. Um, so yeah, I try and focus on those good things.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. That that would make my month. That
I
sounds awesome.
mean, it only happens for like a month here in San
Okay.
Diego, and
You
I'm gonna send you a little video of like because somebody took a drone footage, and they're just everywhere. Like they're just you just like swim and you can't help but be with 30 underneath you. It's so cool.
awesome.
So on that note, what's your joke today, sir?
Oh, you made me go first. Especially corny today. Why
I
aren't
know it's gonna
koalas actual bears? They don't have the qualifications.
Oh, I should know that because
Yeah,
I'm Australian. Like I have
yeah.
Australian citizenship. They don't have the qualifications. Okay, why why does the shooting star taste better than a comet? Because it's a little meteor.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Okay, we really cheesed it up
Yeah,
today.
these are pretty bad. I was like,
Oh,
because Comet's what I use
yeah.
to clean my toilet with.
Don't eat that. Don't eat
Yeah,
that.
don't
That's
need that.
not. It's
Yeah.
like Tide Pods. Don't do it.
Ah,
Um,
that's it's got the Mr. Yuck sticker on it. Oh,
yeah,
fun fact, Mr. Yuck sticker invented in Pittsburgh. It's,
really.
yeah, it had to be invented somewhere. It was invented here.
Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh is just awash with really fun, really strange facts like that. So.
Yeah, we're very proud of them too. So I think that's why you hear a lot of them.
You know what we're famous for? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, ooh, leopard sharks, and you're like, yuck, the yuck sticker.
Mr.
Um,
Yuck. Also ambulances, good stuff.
really? Did you guys make ambulances?
Yeah,
No way.
yeah. They were uh, the African American community up on the Hill District here in Pittsburgh. They needed transportation to the hospitals that would take them in emergency care and things like that. And yeah, invented here.
feel like I watched, now that you say that, there was like some man who was like they were doing a documentary on him about that exact thing, and I didn't know it was in Pittsburgh, but I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a
that's
very
pretty
cool story.
cool. That's a very
Yeah,
cool
we get
story.
we get some good ones. Mr. Yuck stickers, polio vaccines, ambulances. Strong.
Gosh. I bought a sticker last year that says happy to not have polio or so, it was just like one of
Yeah,
those
yeah. Good luck to the
exact.
kids.
I know. Godspeed. I wanted
That's.
to talk.
We
I
should
know that
probably
you
mention
said,
the executive order.
oh, should we?
We did.
Do we
Yeah,
want to go there?
it's a bad idea. That's
Yeah.
the that's the
It's
extent
like,
of my discussion. It's effing stupid. Sorry.
yeah, fair.
There. That's
Yeah,
how much we need to discuss it.
just check. Um, and I totally agree with you. I wanted to start with I know that you had put in our little Google sheet that there are no new de novos or new PMAs, I think, since last week since we talked. However, the CaRi-Heart or the CaRi-Heart or the CaRi-Heart or however you want to pronounce it. I did dig through their classification order a little bit, and I found
Okay.
something that was a little fascinating to me because I was like, oh, usually when there were post-market controls, they would put it at the bottom of the de novo order or like the classification order, and it would say like, here's your post-market study outline. You need to do this by 6 months, this by a year, and they would really spell it out, and it wasn't in there. So I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. They don't have there's no post-market controls. However, there is a post-market control woven into the special controls, which I don't know. I've never seen this before. So it's kind of felt very new. It was special control number two. So the first one, and just for the people who didn't listen last week, which is most people, this is a predictive indicator for long-term cardiovascular outcomes. It was by a company called Caristo Diagnostics. Shout out to Hogan Levels, John Smith, and probably Erico Yoshimura
Yeah.
probably helped him on this.
Future
This is
guest Erico. She doesn't know
Oh
it yet.
yeah, she doesn't know it yet, but now
Yeah.
you just got name dropped, Erico. This is for it helps assist healthcare professionals in patient management. It analyzes results indicated for adults 30 to 80 who have been referred to coronary computed tomography angiography images, and it helps to predict or like gives you sort of predictive factors to, I don't know, I'm like looking at this right now. I can't find the exact language, but it was for like specific predictive indicator for some specific cardiovascular events. Um, Anyway, I probably need to like look more into what they're actually predicting. It's for vascular inflammation from, yeah, vascular inflammation. Anyway, this is not the interesting part. It's a very interesting device. But what I found is in the mitigation measures and then also special control number two. So special control one was for clinical performance testing, and woof, they had like quite a few, when it's like part I and II, and then it goes up to XI. So it goes all the way up to 11 of all of the testing they need to do for clinical validation. And then the second one is the device manufacturer must develop and implement a post-market performance management plan that ensures regular assessment of the generalizability and device performance in the intended patient population in real world use. So I why I think this is interesting is I've been part of quite a few de novos where post market controls were stipulated at the end, but it wasn't necessarily it was like a special control, but it said either pre market or post market needs to be done in order to demonstrate that it's substantially equivalent moving forward. And this one says that it is a special control, which means that everyone who uses this or
Yeah.
does this as a 510K and uses this as a predicate will have to have a post-market performance management plan before you get clearance. So I think there was always a question of like, how is the post-market team at FDA going to manage this? Because they're the ones who usually they'll do like 522 orders and post-market management for PMAs, but then they all of a sudden these companies started getting post-market or PSPs or whatever post-market surveillance plans for de novo, and it was like, how are they going to keep up with all these, right? But I think this puts more of the onus on just the company to do it internally, and it might not necessarily need um, reports to FDA every 6 months, right? Which I,
Right.
I think puts it puts the onus back on the company, which is good, but it also kind of reduces burden from FDA's perspective, so they're not always having to check in and say, "Where is your next report?" Like um, shout out to Julie Unger at FDA. She's been helping with a lot
Yeah.
of the post-market surveillance
I,
plan stuff that I'm like, yeah, it's not easy.
it definitely aligns more with the EU MDR model too, right? Like, because that's requiring post-market surveillance, post-market clinical follow-up, and those kind of plans get part of the upfront tech file dossier work, but then, for the initial stamp, but then they're part of surveillance audits. So I wonder if with the 1345 harmonization, if they're going to start in the audit checklist, start looking at these, like if it's required to have some sort of post-market surveillance and part of the special controls, it becomes up in your more, audits when the FDA shows up, as that's where you're supposed to kind of have that documentation because it's going to come up in these companies, MDSAP or MDR kind of surveillance audits as well. So
Yeah, 100%. And thought or think that this could be a way that FDA is pushing a little stuff a little more post-market. I think especially for predictive models, right? Like you
yeah,
want to make sure it's actually doing the thing that you said it was going to do pre-market, that it's going to go do it post-market. So I like that they're saying, hey, keep collecting data. It's also in line with their real world evidence or real world
hmm
use e- efforts. The clinical section though of this classification order is steep. I mean, they really stipulate this test data set must include a minimum of 3 geographically diverse sites, separate from sites used in training of the model. Like I kind of see this as almost a general use guidance, like what they've put in the special control, because they really don't mince words on exactly what they want to see. Output estimations must be compared directly to observed rates in the study population. Data must demonstrate consistency of the output over the full range of inputs. They had, yeah.
cynical view.
Okay.
Do you do you
Yep.
think the
Yeah,
FDA
harsh my
kind
butter.
of no, I because I like it, but it's
Kidding.
also do you think the FDA like really put because both of us have gone through de novos where the easiest thing to do is just copy paste what the company did into the special controls and just be like you have to do everything that they did before. And so if the FDA's, they did three, and they just if the company said, okay, well, here's our proposed special controls, and they copy pasted, and the FDA did not do anything to make it more general or more open, then it's there in the exact same thing that the original de novo did, which is great for the de novo owner because no one gets to skip ahead, right? That's smart, good work on their part. But I do think that if there wasn't that forethought at the division or office level now, to go, wait a second, we can't force everyone to do this exact same thing. There might be ways around it. That's usually where it gets softened. And if this just kind of got pushed through, then it could have been, um, rather than great, great work.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, I wonder, gosh, can you imagine if non-invasive blood pressure got to write their special controls like this? It might have actually helped, instead of they don't have to
Honestly,
write a
probably would have.
guidance. Yeah, just like tell us exactly
Exactly.
what you want.
Yeah.
Um,
It might have to
I
hold the FDA to it. Put it up there for chemical characterization too.
you must reach this level. I mean, it's sort of yeah, it makes me wonder. I mean, there's only five special controls, but each one of these has multiple subparts, right? Like every single one has at least two, but up to 11 subparts to each special control. And it really reads like you need to meet this bar, right? So, and it's not typically the company that even, we like to propose them, right? For de novos, we like to say, hey, here's some ideas, for special controls, but FDA will always say, like, no, we're the ones who are gonna write them, and you're not going to know what they are really until you get that classification letter,
Right.
right? Or the classification order. So I don't know. It makes sense for this device because it's a predictive indicator for long-term cardiovascular outcomes. I just think if we start, if there's a device that's identical to what they're trying to do, Um, will they always have to meet every single special control? Probably. Like I think of
At least in the
one
short term.
in the short term for sure. Like I think there was one device that I can think of very specifically. We went for a pre-sub, and it was like this therapy had been using, oh my gosh, I can't speak. This therapy had been used over and over again. Like it was something that there were a lot of predicates, right? That De Novo was about 10 years old and there were multiple predicates on the market. And we finally were like, do you need clinical? Like we just straight up asked FDA, like, this works, right?
Yeah.
Because like every people just rave about it. It was like it's so impactful. And it's for like people with cancer. It's like so anyway. And so I they said, no, you're right. Like, we're now comfortable enough with the effectiveness of this. And because you just really need to demonstrate substantial equivalence, our form factor was different. So they said, just, do a really thoughtful human factors evaluation and study, which was hard. Like, we actually needed to get patients, which was sort of a first time too. But I ended up getting clearance without clinical, but with a really robust usability study. And I feel like there should be those conversations where it's like, and it was, of course, one of my favorite ADs at FDA. I'm not going to say his name, but like he just was very thoughtful with, okay, you're right. Like we have seen this over and over again. And like, what's the minimal amount of information we need to make a regulatory decision? And what is the least burdensome path forward here? And it was chef's kiss. So anyway, I'm gonna
That
thoughts over it.
that is what the Q sub pathway should be for.
Mm,
Those kind of conversations.
yeah.
Get something on there. Talk, negotiate with the FDA of why, the special controls. I don't know. Great work. Good job
Yeah.
convincing an AD
Yeah.
that was the right thing to do too.
Well, and he was just like, I get it. This is, it's this device works and people are anyway. Um, so off my soapbox. Let's do so no new break or I don't know. There's probably new breakthroughs, but
There was. I actually got one. There was a breakthrough for Freenome Simple Screen Lung. I don't know if we talked
oh,
about this one before.
well, Freenome just got their de novo, no? Or their PMA?
Yeah,
It was a PMA.
they it was a PMA, and they announced this week that they got a um, breakthrough for a blood-based simple screen lung cancer screening test. It's an investigational AI-powered multi-omic test for adults aged 50 to 80 at high risk who are not currently participated in lung cancer screening, guideline lung cancer screening. So it's kind of a early detection lung cancer blood test. It is kind of pushed towards smokers who should be at risk and may not have been getting their normal lung cancer screening. And it seems like it would be a much lower burden, easier to kind of do. One, because I think lung cancer screening is CT imaging right now. I think I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. So like, and one thing if we have time that I want to kind of talk about, just FDA's kind of position on when the gold standard is not available or accessible or, things like that, how to like accept products that have a place in the continuum of care, but it's not necessarily perfect, and how the FDA like just treats that. But this seems to be they only got breakthrough, so it's not on the market yet, but they're investigating kind of a blood test instead of going in for imaging, which would be awesome because that's something you could get done at,
Oh my
Quest
gosh.
Labs, right?
I'm telling you, man, one day, what is it? Like our bathrooms are going to be the new lab and
Well,
just
there's the
like
the toilet, smart toilet seats,
smart
taking
toilets.
pictures of your butt.
We're gonna soon it's just gonna do like I love my Toto toilet. Sorry, I'm gonna go there. I feel like when I travel, that's the only thing I miss. I miss my kids kind, like my husband, but
Ish.
like I like it's really my my toilet. I'm just like, man, if that thing could like run some tests while I'm while I'm happily using my Toto. Anyway,
I
I
hate
love it. I love it.
do I have something to tell you? It can. Just get the new
Hear me
models.
out. Hear me out. Yeah, I feel like, and you're right. Like these blood tests, like so there's gonna be so much stuff in our homes moving forward because I think people are just like, I don't want to go to the hospital. Our healthcare system kind of sucks at times. Like who said like it's not broken, it's fixed. Like a lot of these insurance and providers are like making things hard to get tests done. So I feel like a lot of people are going to start demanding more, early screening and just heard it here last, I guess, because I feel like everyone talks about this online. Um,
Just
cool.
put a link to the Kasana Care smart toilet seat. There's lots of versions of this, but that was the one I had already looked up. That will give you your vital signs when you sit
And
down.
they're the ones that have the cool headshots, right?
Yeah,
They're in the
yeah,
toilet seat. Yeah.
yeah. So
I hope that when we put this one live this week that we talk it's like Crystal says, we talk about toilets a lot or something like toilet
yeah,
talk or something like that. Make
big,
sure she puts
yeah.
that in there. They put
I,
that in there. All right, let's move on to over the counter because there's two things we didn't really get to last week. One was over the counter medical devices, considerations for device manufacturers website update. Um, I get a lot of questions, and this actually dovetails nicely for what we were just talking about of like moving devices that are maybe prescription use into the home, but then not only that, but trusting patients to like go to your local CVS and say like this is a device that works for me, or looking at it online and saying, oh, this is over the counter. I don't need a doctor's prescription. And so FDA has on this page, like, what are the types of devices that are potential candidates for over the counter status? And they have examples like hearing aids, continuous glucose monitors, electrosurgical devices for over the counter aesthetic use. Of course, like those facial deficiencies, aka wrinkles, right? Flu tests, pregnancy tests, like there's quite a few, and those are just examples. I feel like there's a lot of companies that come to me and are like, we want to go over the counter. How do we do it? And there's so the FAQ is a great place to start. And there's also uh, some human factors or like the testing that needs to be done to make sure that the person could pick up the device,
yeah,
look at it and say, this is a device that I could use. I have wrinkles or I have this disease or condition, therefore I'm going to buy it. And then you should also do sort of like the unboxing, making sure that they can actually use the device correctly. And there's been some really creative ways. What was the company? What's the one that has like the little thumb pad one for it's got metal? AliveCore? AliveCore. I think my dad has one. But
okay.
they went over the counter in a sort of creative way as well by how I understood it. I have not worked with this company, but like they went from like the person could buy it, it would get sent to you, and then you would have to use it one time, and it was sent somewhere to some cardiologist like in a closet or something, and I don't think that's real, but like they would have to make sure that the trace was acceptable, and then they unlocked the whole
Oh
device
yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like just to make sure that like did you use it correctly? Okay, you're good. Or if it, if it was a bad trace, they'd be like, do it again. But once
That's
that
awesome.
happened, it was unlocked. And then I think FDA got comfortable over time and said like, oh, okay, now you've shown us that using real world evidence and whatnot, that people can actually use the
Hum
dang thing.
Human factors is really having like, because this is really, I feel like it's tied to human
Yes.
factors heavily. So I feel like they're having a big like moment. I've been seeing it over the last few years of just how much emphasis the FDA has been putting on usability and human factors
For sure.
as well. So like to the six people listening, definitely like make sure that's
Six
part of
people
your.
today?
I'm There's just five and two of them are us. So anyway,
So three. We have
three.
about three. Yeah, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's awesome. But the one thing I get asked about this a lot too, because I think there's just with telehealth and things, there's so much more ability to go home, but
Yeah.
there is a difference. I always have to explain this to clients. There's a difference between over the counter and home use because some devices are like, hey, you still need a prescription from your doctor, but they're not going to be there to administer it. And the considerations are very similar, but OTC typically is actually like, in theory, the lowest risk, but probably the highest burden of evidence on the usability side because there's no doctor there to say this is for specifically use this. There's no education around it. It is something you can go to CVS and buy off the shelf, whereas like a home use device might have a little bit more of a prescription. They mail it to you, or sometimes you can order it online and, you know, the doctor at the company somehow or another allows it to be prescribed to you.
Right.
You know, those kind of things work.
Or
But
sometimes it's like download it from on your phone. Like I've worked with some digital diagnostics that were like you can download it, but you can't access it until you get the code from your doctor, and then it gets unlocked. So it's still a prescription home use device. But I worked with somebody in cardiovascular on a de novo ages ago, and then he and I just kind of kept up, and he was like, we're comfortable at times. The devices may migrate home with the patient. And I liked that. I often say like it could migrate home.
yes.
And so think about there's benefits to that for sure. Like especially I think of like non negative pressure wound therapy. I know that's like a trigger word for a lot of people. But like those devices are meant to oftentimes migrate home with the patient. So it's like how are the nurses or the staff trained to use it? And then how are you training the patient to make sure that they know how to use it, go home safely, and change their own bandage, and then hook up the little negative pressure suction.
Right.
Um, Same thing for a lot of like the like heart or like what is it, smart stethoscopes and stuff, right? Like
Yeah. Well,
those can
we've
migrate
got,
home.
yeah, and you know, we've got a client, Corey, on. They're wonderful, and they've got a home use stethoscope that we're trying to get through the FDA. But it's like it's very cool, and it does things like you mentioned on the Alive Core, like, hey, did you use it right? They've got, you know, did you record the sounds correctly for the electronic stethoscope to send to them? And it's got really cool how to place it in the right spot. So it's like totally built on the idea that this will always be used at home
I love it.
with for parents with kids or just adults and things like that. So it's a really smart. The whole concept is that make it better at home kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of companies focused on that now.
For sure.
I think honestly that's, you know, that comes out of COVID, I think, right? Like the people like didn't feel comfortable going to a doctor's office or going to the hospital, and like how can we, you know, do this for without leaving our living room better.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is that CEO's name?
Anna Lee.
Thank you. I
So,
saw her talk at LSI. And I was just like total fangirl. I was like, "Oh, she's so cool." I was like, "I wonder who her regulatory team is." And then she mentioned you at the end. I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
good. Yay."
Yeah, it was at Raps actually. Her
Was it
yeah,
Raps? I
it
can't
was at
remember.
Raps in
Okay.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, yeah. So, but her and her co-founder Akshay are both wonderful. So we'll definitely shout them out.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah, they're doing cool things, and I hopefully keeps going through. So,
Yeah. Woot.
um,
All right, shall we
okay,
move on?
yeah, let's move on.
All right. All right, let's do did you have the
I can
CMS?
Yeah, I can do this. So we've talked about the rapid pathway before here. They formally proposed it. So it's been kind of a lot of times FDA with and HHS in general will kind of soft launch policy. And so they've talked about this rapid pathway for a while, but the federal register notice went out. And so they formally proposed the rapid pathway. It's out there for comment, and it's already come up in some meetings with while talking with the FDA. So for just a reminder, it's the rapid pathway is for eligible breakthrough devices, and it's kind of a CMS coordination of its Medicare coverage with the FDA's pre-market process. So basically, if you're in the rapid process and you're a class 3 device, you can get automatic CMS coverage after 90 days after approval. And for class 2 devices that qualify, it's 60 days. But the qualification rules are still, I would say, up for debate, and that's what they're asking for comment right now. And for class 2 products, it's breakthrough and TAP and planning a de novo. And at the IDE pre-submission stage, and I'll talk about the IDE part of it in a second. And for class three, it's FDA breakthrough, planning a PMA, TAP permit. TAP is not required. It's just breakthrough.
Okay.
But one of the things that's called out in there, and I thought this was interesting because the FDA brought it up to us with a recent TAP call, is that the device must conduct an IDE study that enrolls Medicare beneficiaries. But which I think makes sense. Get
But
the
it
right
has to be
population.
IDE, so even if it's like a
But
non-significant risk study?
this is the thing. When you look at the IDE regulations, non-significant risk studies are IDEs. They are NSR
That is
IDEs.
true. They
The
are.
exemption is still there. They're IDEs. They just didn't need FDA approval to be conducted. So one of the comments that I think needs to be made is clearing that up, because I don't think the FDA even really always understands that NSR studies that are IRB approved are IDEs. You have an exemption to put the device into patients. It just didn't need a stamp of approval by FDA. It's like a class one device,
Yeah.
right? It's still a medical device. It's just not 510K cleared, right? So it's there. It exists. So I think that part of it'll be interesting to get that resolution, because I don't know that it's intended to require a significant risk study, but maybe it is. And then the other part is that, which I didn't realize because we've talked a lot about this, IVDs are excluded from Rapid. Did you know that?
Say it again. IDEs or
IVDs,
oh,
in vitro
I did
diagnostics.
not know that.
Yeah, so CMS generally relies on Medicare administrative contractors for IVD covered determinations, and I think that might go to CLIA and things like that. And maybe that's a misunderstanding, but I saw that designation, that posted in some of the things that I didn't realize that when we were originally talking about it. So
Fascinating. I didn't
yeah,
either. I mean, there's so many things I don't know.
yeah,
You know,
that's why we're here.
that's why we're here
Yeah,
with our
but
three listeners.
it just went up this week, and it's comments for 30 days. So I think comments around do a better job clarifying these rules are always comments that make it into the policy. Um, you know, please change this doesn't always work, but the clarify this usually does. So
Yeah,
put your comments in.
that's cool. Thank you. Thank you for that information. That's
You're
helpful.
welcome.
Can I just tell you, side note, I just got the loveliest note from somebody. I'm not going to name drop it because they just started at FDA and they said how much they love listening to TTKU
Well, that's fun.
because they learn a lot and it's been very helpful. And so it just like totally made my week. That and swimming with sharks. It's like I
Those are two good things. Whoever
I
you
know.
are,
Whoever
I
you
appreciate you too.
I know you're listening. Um I okay, so let's talk about digital breast tomosynthesis. DBT.
So,
Do you know what it is? Do you want me to
um,
tell you?
I, I, I don't know the history behind why I got. So go ahead. You take this one on.
Well, I think this is a classic story of well, let's maybe tell people what it is. DBT, where's my slide? Here it is. Digital breast tomosynthesis, 3D mammography, is a technologically advanced mammogram that's excellent at detecting breast cancer, especially in dense breast tissue. It's also known as 3D mammography because it uses a series of two-dimensional images to build a three-dimensional image of your breast. Standard mammography, still considered the most reliable procedure for breast cancer screenings, takes 2D images of breasts. And I know this very well because I have a family member, close family member, who had breast cancer. And so I got pinged early to get my boobs checked like every 6 months. So I do 3D and MRI, and like they screen me every which way. And the biggest compliment I get every time I go in, my doctor says, Allison, your boobs are very boring. And I'm like, oh, thank God. So, which is such a compliment. So, this is, I think it probably, this is my thoughts. I think it started off as class three because this has been around for a while. And so it went through, and breast cancer, scary, right? And so it's, at class, it's currently class 3, needs PMA. And so FDA is saying we should down classify these to class 2, which I agree. I feel like this is something that this should be more available and there should be more devices. And so I love it when FDA thinks about these things. I don't know if it's because a lot of people write in and they're like, why is this class 3? Like, let's
Yeah,
down classify it. It usually doesn't start from within the building, I don't think, but happy to see that they're putting this on the Federal Register.
I mean, I'm happy, and it's yeah, I fully agree. I like when they take a look at it. I remember being at FDA and kind of getting a list of, hey, we need to look at everything in cardiovascular and look if it's properly classified. And sometimes it was easy, like yes, 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 but there were ones that we had to like write a report of why we weren't going to down classify it. Like, one of them was like an electrosurgical RF ablation type device at the time, and I'm glad they went through and caught this one and brought it down because CT imaging, it's class 2, why. So this type
Really,
of thing does, and we talked about it last week with the colon cancer though, this does fit into the FDA doesn't always do well with niche, like non-standard of care, because not
yeah,
everyone can go get 3D breast imaging or, you know, mammograms, and insurance doesn't cover it till they're 40. And I've had clients try to go through the FDA with at home or lower, just kind of screening type tests for, self exam. And the FDA was like, absolutely not. It's mammography or go home. Yeah. I'm like, it's just tough to kind of have that argument of like, there's a place for lower sensitivity specific, you're better knowing something than nothing. But at least in my mind. But the FDA does have good arguments of like, well, what if it's wrong? Is it better? Are you better off not knowing than having iffy information that prevents you from traveling the 4 hours to a hospital for your mammogram every, 6 months in your case, right? Like you don't have to travel that far, but if you lived in, you know, rural Texas or something, you might. So
yeah. I totally agree. I feel like there's I don't know, I just see stuff like this and I'm like, oh,
it's
there's
good
good
though.
stuff. Yeah. And
Yeah, it's good.
I sometimes look at this stuff and I'm like, ugh, of course, breast health is like class 3 PMA, but I want to point out my one of my best friends, her dad passed away from breast cancer when she was a kid. This is years ago. So like, but men get breast cancer too, right?
Hmm.
So it's not just, go get your, your DBT, your digital breast tomosynthesis if you're a woman. Definitely happens more frequently in women, but men get breast cancer too.
I,
So,
I, I know we've had this conversation around the morcellation device too about like it. It's a kind of there's two sides to it where I don't, where women's health ends up being like considered high risk for some reason, and maybe it's just because no one's done the work to like down classify it. But I'm also like, you know, I feel like the PMA and de novo processes at the FDA are so much more straightforward, science based. Of like this clearly works. Um, so I'm like, that's good. It's like, hey, we're making sure that these are great devices. They're not 510Ks like I was, dental implant type screws, which I'm like, okay, there's 1,000 of them. They're all the same. These are pretty like high intense capital equipment type things. So I'm like, oh, of course it makes sense as a PMA. But on the flip side, your argument of like, you're basically gating care to women by making the burden so high. I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't think of it on that side too. Because I'm like, this ensures quality, but it also makes it really hard to get anything on the market. So
yeah. Yeah.
I think I agree with you now. Oh yeah, this makes sense. There's a
Yeah.
good, it's right size now.
Yeah. I also a little shout out because I know it came out in CDRH new news or new whatever this week is the MQSA report that they come out with a couple times a year. It's the national statistics, and if you don't know what that is, it's the Mammography Quality Standards Act. which Congress did something great in 1992, and they said that mammography facilities in the U.S. need to meet specific quality and safety standards, and they come out with reports and just making sure that those quality standards are being met, so you can have more faith that your mammography or your mammogram is working how it's supposed to do, or how it is supposed to. So, all right, let's move off
Uh,
boobs.
Bob, I
Or go.
appreciate the comment. They may have done one or two good things since 1992, but
No, no, that was it.
that was it.
Yeah, no, 92 was a great year. Let's talk about the PMA panel. I know you and I both kind of we put this in the chat, but
Yeah,
for Grail.
yeah. So I just saw that it's a molecular and clinical genetics panel for this Gallery Grail product, which was
I like to
the
say Grail Galeri. I don't know
there.
why. I like to use the Italian accent on that because it's
Hey,
cool, cool looking.
Italian, what's the Italian and Irish accents are the only ones you're allowed to do without getting canceled.
Is that okay?
Yeah, maybe
All right.
Australian too, actually. I don't think
Australian too,
anyone's,
yeah.
yeah. Uh, but it was for cancer-specific methylation patterns from DNA, and basically kind of a cancer risk determination device, and they're going to go to panel to see if it should be approved. I did not get a chance to dive too much more into it. Did you have more
No, I
information?
saw people were posting some thoughts about it on LinkedIn and that, which is where I get a lot of my news.
Hmm.
But that they're excited about it, and that I love a good panel meeting. I don't know, I if you're in the DC area and it's a public meeting, it's on September 23rd, but everyone should experience a panel. I feel like that was one of the benefits of being at White Oak is that like they'd be like, "Hey, there's going to be a panel for I think there was one for breast implants when I was there." And oh my gosh, it's fascinating. Like just the conversations and the science and the research that everyone comes to the table with. Anyway, shout out if you're able to attend, go. Do it.
There, I think there's like two forms of them too, where they're like super inspirational or super controversial.
Yes, that's so
Like
true.
I went to one for dental amalgam issues, and someone showed up in the public comment like wearing a gas mask to give his
Stop
talk,
it.
and I was like, this is hilarious. It was just like an absolute circus of like people presenting, and like some of it was, and some of it was like really heartfelt, like people who believed that they were getting some sort of heavy metal poisoning from amalgam, and often it coincided with time of life or autoimmune disease type stuff, and it was just like, man, this person's clearly got some health issues, and they're tying it to this filling. Um, Tough to do, but
Yeah.
maybe. And so those are interesting. But then the other one that I remember distinctly is one of the first ones I went to. And newsflash to anyone who doesn't know me, I cry very easily. Ball
I
at
don't think I
Disney.
knew this about you. Are
I,
you serious?
I, you'll catch me on an airplane watching a Disney movie, and I'll be
Okay,
bawling.
airplanes. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
airplanes are a
just
weird place.
it's really embarrassing sometimes. But um, the Berlin Heart was my first panel one,
No
and it
way.
was the public stories of how much, as parents whose kids were able to like make bridge to transplant and all this stuff, and they were just like saying how, this device saved their kids' lives, and even there was one who like it didn't end up saving their life, but it gave them an extra couple weeks with the parents, and it was just like,
That made me cry too.
yeah, I was,
I'm
but
an easy crier. Ugh.
the entire, all the FDA staff, I think Bram was even crying, like everyone was crying, like during this thing. And it was like, and the thing was like the clinical trial, it's a pediatric emergency thing. And it was like the clinical wasn't perfect because everyone was at risk, and they needed the panel to kind of tell the FDA that, yes, there is a place for this, and they needed the
Yeah.
experts
Ugh.
because you know, it was great. It was one of those like, hey, this is why we do it kind of thing. So
Yes. I feel like those sort of inspirational moments or those moments of like clarity of like why we are doing what we're doing, right? It is supposed to be this, hey, devices save lives. And yeah. Monica put in the comments that she remembers one about ADHD where a lady was talking about her amphetamine use, not the legal kind, and it was because she couldn't get actual meds. And I feel like even though people are like these are just anecdotes or you're like the gas mask guy that shows up, some people you're like I don't want to deny their truth, right? Like they're coming with their story, and it's often like very helpful to for FDA to hear some of these stories of like if it hurt you or if it helped you, like those can be very powerful with like helping people make decisions
Yeah,
because
and
the story does that, right?
fully. And I think it comes back to the kind of thread that I've brought up a few times today of like that story makes it say, someone with ADHD who might not be able to get their prescribed, you know,
Yeah.
Ritalin or Adderall or whatever, they were prescribed to for whatever reason, cost or things, there might be a device out there that might not work as well as the pharmaceutical, but it has a place in that continuum of care. And getting the FDA on board with that often takes stories like that. And that's the kind of the purpose of panel meetings sometimes is like, hey, there's a purpose for this.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
not everyone can afford or get access to the best for everything. Unfortunately, that's how our healthcare system works. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a place for some of this stuff. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
I love it. I love medical devices, if you can't tell. I also made a new shirt. It's coming out and it says a medical device saved my life. And I was like, because I feel like everyone could wear it. I'm like, even if you have a band-aid or like a bandage, you probably didn't get infection thanks
Yeah,
to this medical device. So, I'm gonna
put
buy you
the
one. I'm gonna send it to you, Nilo.
yeah. I think I need a medical device for advertisement shirt
Yeah,
at all times.
yeah, I'm gonna get one.
My Reg AF shirt's on like a quilt now because
Made
yeah,
it onto a quilt. I like that.
yeah,
Well, I'm wearing
yeah,
mine today.
yeah.
I need to get some more made. I this is a perfect segue for the CDRH patient and caregiver connection. So I did not know about this, but supposedly it's been
I still
around.
don't.
You still don't know about it? Okay.
No, you put it in here. I didn't get a chance to look at it.
Okay. This is extremely valuable for many reasons. So, folks, listen up. The patient and caregiver connection is a partnership that provides CDRH staff with broad and timely access to patient and caregiver experiences. Partner organizations will collect feedback about specific issues from their members and share that feedback with CDRH. This patient feedback on the impact of the medical condition on individual patients can help provide a rich context for regulatory decision making. Clearly, I just read that from the website. However, there are so many um it's almost like the collaborative communities, effort.
Interesting.
But there's like the Alliance of Sleep Apnea Partners, there's the Muscular Dystrophy Association, the Michael J. Fox Foundation, the Neurotech Network, the Obesity Action Coalition, the Sepsis Alliance. So there's all of these um, connections that FDA has. And why I think this is valuable is because I often tell companies like a letter from a doctor is not probably going to be the most helpful to try and like win over your review team, because they're like, okay, is that doctor paid by you? However, if you can say, listen, FDA, they like FDA can put together a list of questions and reach out to these partners, these patient and caregiver connection network partners, and ask very specific questions. That group will get back to FDA and say, like, yeah, our people think that this is a very important thing, or that this is like, looking at benefit risk, or looking at some of the what are the acceptance of a higher risk for certain niche populations. So maybe this is a good segue for you with your niche population considerations. But FDA will then they'll get exposure to these patients' viewpoints, right? And it's not to provide it says it's not to provide policy advice, recommendations, or opinions, but it is designed to broaden CDRH staff exposure to these specific populations. And I was just like, this is so cool. Like, why did I not know about this? Like, this is something that CDRH should be using more, that companies should be like maybe reaching out to some of these networks and saying, can you, I don't know, get some of your network to answer some of these questions because this should be leveraged more.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I am literally typing out an email right now to the client that I am is prompting my rant on FDA not understanding continuum of care populations to go, hey, let's fire off an email to and
Yes.
connect with this to let's see if we can get further support that there is a need for and a place for our device.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's ones for type 1 diabetes, Brain Coalition, Susan G. Komen is on here. So I'm just like, clearly these are groups that have a very strong patient like base and foundation, people that they can reach out to and work with directly. And that voice should not be stifled anywhere. And FDA is trying to make this more available. Freaking cool. So
it is
anyway,
cool.
love stuff like this. And
Yeah,
especially
that's
when it's like
awesome.
it's kind of buried a little bit. Like FDA does not make it easy to find some of these things, but I
We
did. We're trying to
good.
keep up.
Yeah, we've brought her up before. Jessica Wynn used to be great at finding these things and repackaging them and going, hey, reminder people, we have this at FDA. And I was always super helpful. Not Jessica Wynn, Jessica Paulson. Sorry.
Fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is who I was thinking of. She was always really good for that to kind of bring things that are good ideas that the FDA already thought through, but kind of got buried in
Yeah.
just things get
Turnover
pushed, turnover,
or
things get
yeah.
pushed. People aren't advocating for them, and industry isn't using them. They kind of might fall down. So it's awesome that this is there. Also, this whole division of patient-centered development like list on FDA seems like a great resource. I'm going to put the link to the patient caregiver connection in the chat, but
Eh,
yeah, I will
Um,
nerd out and dive into this
yeah, you
probably later
should.
today.
You should. We should like promote the heck out of it. And I feel like reviewers need to know about it. I
Yeah,
loved what is Jessica Paulson up to now? I like that one.
we'll tag her and hopefully she
Tagger.
responds. Yeah,
All right, she'd be like,
this is what
who
I'm
are
doing.
she's like, who are these two idiots?
Yeah.
Keep my name out your mouth. Um, I think the last thing I wanted to talk about was the new regulatory science innovation catalyzing medical device development. It's on September 25th. It's an FDA co-sponsored event with MDIC. Shout out to Gemma and to Danya. We love you. And also just all the cool stuff that MDIC is doing. So it sounds like I love when FDA partners with, and they are, MDIC is partially funded by FDA. So it is this like, yes, we should understand more how to catalyze innovation and like what are some of the things that need to happen there. So I don't know. I'm gonna try and go.
Yeah. Um, I think I'm going to try. I submitted a proposal for an MDIC thing too, with your name on it.
I know. I was like, anytime you throw my name
Yeah.
on there,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Also, I did look up Jessica Paulson real quick, and I
Yeah.
think she might have moved to London to work for the MHRA. So you should
That's
tell your,
right.
so
Okay,
you
I
might
did
want to
know that.
tell, yeah, you might
Yeah.
want to tell your sister to go knock on her door or something.
Be like, go talk to
Yeah.
Jessica.
Yeah.
How cool. How cool to like go from she's gonna be just like the most knowledgeable person in all of regulatory.
Maybe she's the one responsible for the MHRA FDA connection.
I
I
like
could see
that.
her being behind that.
I could see that too.
Yeah.
Love you,
Anyway,
Jessica.
shout out Jessica.
Yeah, shout out. Please be our
Um,
friend.
yeah.
User fees. They went up. That's all we need to say. Yeah,
Yeah, get your
2027.
submissions in. Get your submissions in by September 30th, or else pay the higher
Pay
fee.
the higher fee. I know. I always I feel like that's always the notorious time at FDA where FDA is like, I hate September 30th, like or October 1st because it's just like you get this deluge of submissions and then it's like of course September like 30 or 90 days later is like holiday time, right? So you're just like, bah. I usually tell companies I'm like, don't submit anything around there. FDA is just gonna hate you. So
I submit all sorts of things around there because I figure it's going to go on hold right at Thanksgiving, and then the client, like
true.
it sucks for me because it's going to be I have to work over Thanksgiving if we submit that day, not the FDA. We're gonna get the whole letter December 1st, and the board's going to be like, well, we got to respond by January 1st, get to work. Yeah.
Yeah, true that. Somebody did a little clapping emoji. I don't know who that was, but I don't know if it was clapping for like don't submit or you should submit.
They're clapping our pain.
Um, and Nick had a really insightful comment that the pressure differential in airplanes causes you to cry more easily. It's science. And I always
I
wondered because
agree.
I will watch the dumbest commercial or like even though like showing you how to fasten your seatbelt, I'll be like, this is so beautiful. Like I cry at anything on airplanes. Like people must think
I,
I'm
I
disturbed.
I tend to watch the whatever the latest Pixar movie is that I haven't seen. I tend to watch, which was going to make me cry anyway, but I immediately it's like silly amounts of tears. But I also know that it's not going to offend anyone behind me that's watching whatever I'm watching on TV. So it's Pixar's usually a good safe bet.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
um,
Was there there's a new human factors guidance. I don't know if we talked about that last week. There was one that came out in May, right, which talks
yeah,
about like what you need to actually do in your pre-market submission. And now this one is the updated human factors guidance from I think it was like 2016. So they finally updated it. But this is the new
okay.
version. It's out. So,
Well,
and everyone's getting walloped right now with like human factors questions on like technical screening holds as well as AINNs. So buckle up.
yeah.
We can-
I We kind of mentioned that last week a little bit, but we'll shout it out again. There's a lot of webinars coming up with human factors experts. The
Yes.
folks from, I saw Holly's
Yeah.
podcast. Holly Cotter has
Shannon
a podcast with Nick. I
Shannon
think she
Hostie's
gets,
on it
yeah,
and
a couple folks from Clarimed and Kim Waller from
Denise
Veranex,
Fortey.
and Denise, yeah,
Yeah, Kim,
uh,
that's right.
and Sandra is on it too. We talked about this last
That's
week, but
right.
yeah,
We
yeah,
did. We can
so
shout them out again because that's going to
yeah,
be such a good.
yeah,
Yeah. I signed
and
up. I think I have something that day, but I'm just like,
I put it on my calendar too. I'm hoping I can move things around to
yeah.
make sure to get there. And also, last time we talked about it, I did not mention Clayton Smith, who was awesome at this and will probably be on some public-facing webinars coming up. I just don't have the schedule. But
Where's
yeah,
Clayton?
he's in Houston.
Okay.
This
Sweet.
guy's on. He's yeah, he's awesome. He is. Um, Denise Wagner too, who's in Indiana, and I think she worked with Shannon at some point. Of they all know each other. Human
Yeah.
factors, like regulatory, is a small world,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
All right. We have
people
lots
should
of shout out.
definitely, yeah, people
Yeah.
should definitely get human factors on their radar if they don't already, because
Seriously.
it's kind of like biocomp from a couple like
Yeah.
every
Cybersecurity.
it didn't used to be a big thing and then it became a big thing. Cybersecurity, big time, is now like got to get it. And human factors is very clearly the next. If you don't have it, you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of, which makes
Think about
sense.
it.
It's a medical device. It's the difference between big difference between pharma and
Right.
devices is there's a user.
Right. Well, and I feel like cybersecurity important because if people are going to be using more tech, like digital devices, yes, like you don't want people screwing with that. And then same thing with human factor. Like if all these things, we just talking about like migrating into the home, then yeah, we got to make sure that people know how to use it.
Seth Carmody, I apologize. 5 years ago at Reg AF, I thought you were insane about the need for
Cybersecurity.
cybersecurity, and I was I was an idiot. I admit I was wrong. You were right, Seth. So, uh, my bad. Shout out to you guys at MedCrypt. You were ahead of it.
you, you
You might have
actually
known
you
something I
knew what you
didn't.
were saying, which happens all the time. People
Yeah,
know more
it
things
does.
than you and I do. All right, that's it. Let's look at that. Look at that. Right on the nose. We'll have I think we have a guest next week, but
We don't yet, but we might by next week.
we do.
And then we've got a host of people coming through, starting with the next confirmed guest is in 2 weeks with Keith Christopher, who is now over in Korea doing big things. So I'm excited
Doing
for
big
that
things.
one. But we might have one by next week too.
Yeah. I Thanks, Nilo.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Talk to you
Bye.
later, everyone.
Hold on, rewind. What did they say? just winging away. Regs and guidance, we'll try our luck. Just two folks out here trying to keep up.